$20 million vanishes in the time it takes to pour coffee. A Manhattan penthouse. Midnight contract signing. Lucien Varela, crime lord, empire builder, survivor, sits surrounded by attorneys who smell like desperation and expensive cologne. His instincts are screaming. Something's wrong. The numbers shimmer too perfectly. The smiles stretch too wide. And then a waitress, invisible, forgettable, nobody, leans close with a coffee pot and whispers 8 words that will either save his life or end it. Sir, the certification dates don't match reality. The room doesn't just freeze. It detonates. Stay until the end. Hit that like button. Comment your city below. Let's see how far this story travels. The candles guttered in their hurricane glasses, throwing shadows that made the attorneys look like vultures circling carrion. 23 floors above Fifth Avenue, in a private room that cost more per hour than most people earned in a month, Lucien Varela sat perfectly still and listened to the sound of his empire preparing to betray him. He didn't know that yet. Not consciously. But his body knew. His body always knew. The sweat on his palms wasn't from the room temperature. The tightness in his chest wasn't from the cigar he'd stubbed out an hour ago. And the way his jaw ached from clenching, that wasn't stress. That was survival instinct, honed over 43 years of living in a world where trust was currency and bankruptcy meant a bullet. "If you'll just sign here, Mr. Varela," said Patterson, the lead attorney. Mid-50s, silver-haired, Princeton-educated, smile like a knife hidden in velvet. "And here," and initial the amended clause on page 67. The contract sat before Lucien like a coiled snake. 218 pages. Dense legal language that translated to $200 million changing hands before dawn. Maritime transport acquisition. Shipping routes from Cartagena to Newark. Ghost companies filtering through shell corporations filtering through legitimate holdings until the money came out clean as baptismal water. It should have felt like victory. It felt like a noose. Lucien picked up his fountain pen, a Mont Blanc his dead wife had given him, back when he still believed in things like love and loyalty. His hand hovered over the signature line. 20 men in the room. Attorneys, financial advisors, witnesses, all of them breathing the same recycled air, all of them waiting for his signature to make them rich. All of them lying. He could smell it. The lie had a scent, like meat starting to turn, like copper, like fear dressed up in Armani and pretending to be confidence. "Mr. Varela?" Patterson's voice carried just the right note of concern. Professional, practiced. "Is something wrong?" "No." Lucien's voice came out rough. He cleared his throat. "Just being thorough." He scanned page 67 again. The amended clause dealt with cargo insurance certification. Standard language, nothing alarming. The certification numbers checked out. He'd had his people verify them 3 times. The shell companies were airtight. The money trail vanished into offshore accounts like water into sand. Perfect. Too perfect. Lucien had built his empire on imperfection, on finding the cracks in other people's armor and driving wedges into them until they split wide open. Nobody's operation ran this clean. Nobody's. The door to the private dining room opened. A woman entered carrying a silver coffee service. Early 30s, slender. Dark hair pulled back in a bun so tight it looked painful. Black vest, white shirt, that invisible uniform that made service workers into furniture. Lucien didn't look at her. None of them did. That was the point of the uniform. She moved around the table, refilling cups, her movements precise and economical. No wasted motion, no eye contact. A ghost in a room full of predators surviving by being beneath notice. When she reached Lucien's seat, she hesitated, just for a heartbeat. So brief that anyone else would have missed it. Lucien didn't miss it. She leaned forward, the coffee pot tilted just so, steam rising between them. Her hand was steady. Her face was blank. But her voice was a wire pulled taut enough to hum. "Sir, the certification dates don't match reality." The words were barely a whisper, soft enough that the attorneys 3 seats down couldn't have heard, loud enough to stop Lucien's heart. He didn't move, didn't turn his head, just let his eyes slide sideways to catch her face in his peripheral vision. She was staring at the coffee she was pouring, not at him. Professional, detached, utterly calm. "Excuse me?" His voice was low, dangerous. The Lloyds of London certification numbers on page 67. Still that same flat service worker monotone. Still pouring coffee like they were discussing the weather. They're dated March 15th, but Lloyd's didn't process maritime insurance for those vessel classifications until April. The ships you're buying insurance for didn't exist yet. The room kept breathing, kept existing. Patterson was saying something about escrow accounts. Someone laughed, forced, nervous. The candles kept burning. But Lucien's world had just tilted sideways. He set down his pen very carefully, picked up the contract, found page 67. The certification numbers swam in front of his eyes, suddenly looking less like verification and more like forgery. March 15th. Right there in black and white. Lloyd's of London didn't process maritime insurance for those vessel classifications until April. How the hell did a waitress know that? You're mistaken. He said it loud enough for the table to hear, dismissive, but his hand found his inside jacket pocket where his phone waited. The certifications were verified by 3 independent firms. Yes, sir. She moved to the next cup, poured. I'm sure I'm wrong. Apologies for the interruption. But before she stepped back, she set a napkin beside his water glass. Just a cloth napkin, white, folded, with numbers written on the edge in ballpoint pen. Lucien's fingers closed around his phone. Under the table, hidden from view, he pulled up a browser, typed quickly, found the Lloyd's of London website, navigated to their policy database, entered the certification numbers from page 67. The screen loaded. Invalid. Certificate not found. His blood went cold. He tried the second number. The third, fourth, invalid. 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 Every single certification number on page 67 was fake. Patterson was still talking. And with the finalization of the Cartagena routes, you'll control 60% of the eastern seaboard trafficking, shipping, capacity. The profit projections are conservative, but we're looking at 300% ROI within 18 months. Lucien's mind was moving now, moving fast. If the certifications were fake, what else was fake? He flipped to page 12. Fleet specifications. 8 cargo vessels, 40,000-ton capacity each, currently docked in Cartagena and Barranquilla. He pulled up another browser window, searched the vessel registration numbers. 2 of them came back valid. 6 didn't exist. His heart was hammering now. The pen in his hand felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. He looked up at Patterson, at the attorneys flanking him, at the financial advisors with their rehearsed smiles and their expensive watches. They knew. They all knew. This wasn't a deal. This was an execution. Gentlemen, Lucien's voice cut through the conversation like a blade. I need a moment. The table went quiet. 20 faces turned toward him. Some confused, some concerned, some, and this was the tell, some relieved, like they'd been holding their breath, waiting for him to sign, and now they could finally exhale. Mr. Varela, we're running up against the midnight deadline, Patterson said. Smooth, professional. If we don't finalize by... I said, I need a moment. Lucien stood. The chair scraped back. Alone. He didn't wait for permission. Just walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. Manhattan glittered below him like a circuit board. Electricity and ambition wrapped in glass and steel. His empire was down there. His people. His money. His life. And someone was trying to kill it. Behind him, he heard the shuffle of expensive shoes, the murmur of consultation. Patterson's voice, low and urgent. We need to keep him on schedule. The offshore accounts close in 40 minutes. If he doesn't sign, Lucien turned. Who set up the Lloyd's certifications? Silence. Patterson's smile didn't waver. Our London office handled that. Standard procedure. Why? Call them. I'm sorry? Call your London office, right now. Verify the certification numbers. The smile tightened. Just a fraction. Mr. Varela, I assure you, everything has been triple-checked. Our due diligence, call them, or I walk. It was a bluff. Sort of. Lucien had 200 million in escrow accounts that would evaporate if he walked away from this deal. Money he'd already committed. Money he needed to keep his operation running, to pay off the Colombian suppliers, to handle the Jersey Port Authority, to keep the whole machinery of his empire from grinding to a halt. But if he signed a contract for ships that didn't exist, for insurance that wasn't real, for cargo routes that were fantasies, he'd lose more than money. He'd lose everything. Patterson's jaw worked. This is highly irregular. So is asking me to buy ghost ships. The room detonated into noise, voices rising, overlapping, attorneys demanding explanations, financial advisors checking tablets, Patterson's face going from tan to gray. And through it all, Lucian watched the waitress. She was at the far end of the room now, setting down the coffee service. Still invisible, still silent, but her eyes, for just a second, met his. There was something there, something sharp and calculating that had no business in the face of someone who poured coffee for a living. Then she looked away, became furniture again. Lucian made a decision. "Everyone out!" The voices stopped. 20 faces stared at him. "Out! Now!" Everyone except Patterson and the woman. Confusion rippled through the room. Someone started to object. One of the junior attorneys, too young to know when to shut up. Patterson silenced him with a gesture. "Gentlemen, let's give Mr. Varela the space he needs. Wait in the antechamber. We'll resolve this shortly." It took 5 minutes for them to file out. 5 minutes of hard stares and whispered conversations. 5 minutes of Lucian standing at the window, watching their reflections, counting exits and weapons and angles of attack. When the door finally closed, leaving just the three of them, the silence felt like a held breath. Patterson turned to the waitress. "You can go as well." "No." Lucian didn't move from the window. "She stays." "Mr. Varela, I don't think she'll... She's the only one in this room who's told me the truth tonight. So she stays." The waitress stood perfectly still. Her face betrayed nothing, but her hands had curled into fists at her sides. Lucian turned to face them both. "I want the truth. Not the sanitized version you've been feeding me. Not the PowerPoint presentation. The truth. Who's behind this?" Patterson's professional mask was cracking. Sweat beaded his upper lip. "I don't know what you're... The ships don't exist. The certifications are fake. 6 vessel registration numbers come back empty. So either you're incompetent, which I don't believe, or you're setting me up. And if you're setting me up, someone paid you to do it." Lucian took a step forward. "Who?" "Mr. Varela, there's been a misunderstanding. Who paid you?" The waitress moved. Just a half step, but it put her between Lucian and the door, not blocking it, just aware. Lucian's eyes narrowed. "What's your name?" She blinked. "Ilara Quinn." "How did you know about the certifications, Ilara Quinn?" "I read the contract while I was setting up the coffee service." Her voice was different now. Not flat. Not servile. Sharp. Precise. "You left it on the side table. I have a background in maritime insurance fraud investigation. The dates jumped out." A waitress with a background in maritime insurance fraud investigation. Former fraud investigator. Currently a waitress. Bills don't pay themselves. Lucian studied her. Really looked at her for the first time. The tight bun. The cheap uniform. The hands that were calloused but clean, nails cut short, eyes that tracked the room like a security camera. "You worked for Lloyd's?" "And others." She hesitated, then, "My father was Charles Quinn. He ran anti-fraud for the London Maritime Division until someone set him up. Forged documents, ghost assets. He went to prison swearing he was innocent. Died there 6 months ago. Heart attack, they said." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Lucien knew that name. Everyone in his world knew that name. Charles Quinn had been a legend. The man who dismantled 3 major smuggling operations, sent a dozen shipping executives to prison, made maritime fraud so expensive that it almost wasn't worth attempting. And then he'd been caught doing exactly what he'd spent his career fighting. Or he'd been framed. Lucian looked at Patterson. "Is Dominic Rourke behind this?" Patterson's face went white. There it was. The confession written in sweat and sudden terror. "Oh, you stupid son of a bitch!" Lucien's laugh was bitter. "He got to you. What did he promise? A cut of my empire after I went down? A seat at the table when he carved up my territory?" "You don't understand." Patterson was backing toward the door now. "Rourke doesn't make offers. He makes threats. He said he'd kill my family, my children. What was I supposed to... The door burst open. 3 men in suits. But not the attorneys who'd left. Different men. Harder faces. Guns already out. Lucian's hand went for the pistol in his ankle holster. Too slow. Too far. The first shot was deafening in the enclosed space, but it didn't come from the men in the doorway. It came from Alara Quinn, who'd produced a snub-nosed .38 from somewhere in her uniform and put a round through the lead man's shoulder before Lucian had cleared leather. The room exploded into chaos. Lucien dove behind the conference table as return fire shredded the air where he'd been standing. Glass shattered, wood splintered. The candles went out, plunging the room into darkness, broken only by muzzle flashes. He came up firing. 2 shots. One of the gunmen went down. The other ducked back through the doorway. Where was Patterson? Gone. Vanished in the confusion. Where was... Alara Quinn was moving, not away from the fight, into it. She'd kicked off her cheap work shoes and was advancing barefoot, her pistol tracking, firing. Another shot. Another. The discipline of someone who'd trained for this, who'd lived through worse. The third gunman tried to swing his weapon toward her. She was faster. Her round caught him in the thigh. He went down screaming, then silence. Just the ringing in Lucian's ears and the sound of his own breathing. He rose slowly, gun still up. 3 bodies. 1 dead, 2 bleeding and whimpering. None of them moving toward weapons. Alara was already checking the doorway, her movements economical and professional. Clear. For now. We've got maybe 2 minutes before backup arrives. Lucien stared at her. Who the hell are you, really? I told you, former fraud investigator, current waitress. She was reloading her .38 with bullets from her vest pocket. Also someone who's been tracking Dominic Rourke for 2 years, waiting for him to make a mistake big enough that I could take him down. Congratulations, you're his mistake. Rourke wants my empire. Rourke wants you dead and your empire carved up for parts. This contract wasn't designed to steal your money. It was designed to put you in debt to people who would kill you for it. You sign this, you're on the hook for $200 million to the Colombian cartels. Money you can't pay because the ships don't exist and the cargo routes are fantasies. They give you 72 hours to make good. You can't. They execute you. Rourke swoops in, discovers the fraud, offers to make the cartels whole out of his own pocket in exchange for your territory. Everyone wins. Except you're dead. Lucien's mind was racing. You've been planning this, waiting for tonight. I got a job at this restaurant 3 months ago when I heard Rourke was setting up a big play. I didn't know the target was you until this afternoon when I saw the reservation. She met his eyes. I could have let it happen. Let you sign. Let you die. One less crime lord in the world, right? But Rourke killed my father, and I'm not letting him win. Police sirens in the distance. Getting closer. We need to move, Alara said. I'm not running for my own deal. This isn't your deal anymore. This is a crime scene. You stay here. You're answering questions all night while Rourke covers his tracks. You want justice? You want revenge? Then we move. Now. Lucian looked at the contract on the table. 218 pages of lies. His signature line still blank. He looked at the bodies on the floor. He looked at Alara Quinn, this impossible woman who'd appeared from nowhere with a coffee pot and a bullet and a vendetta that aligned perfectly with his survival. Where do we go? She smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Somewhere we can break Dominic Rourke's empire into pieces small enough to fit in a grave. The sirens were louder now. Lucien made his choice. Grabbed the contract, shoved it inside his jacket. There's a service elevator at the back of the kitchen, connects to the parking garage. I know, I scoped it out on my first day. Alara was already moving. Come on! They ran. Behind them, the conference room looked like a war zone. Shattered glass. Blood on the carpet. $20 million in escrow accounts that would vanish by dawn. An empire teetering on the edge of collapse. And in the antechamber, 19 attorneys were calling their lawyers, their handlers, their masters, telling them the deal had gone bad, telling them Lucien Varela was still alive, telling Dominic Rourke that his perfect trap had failed. The service elevator descended into darkness. Lucien and Alara stood on opposite sides, guns still drawn, breathing hard, the adrenaline starting to fade into something colder and more calculating. This was insane, Lucien said. This was necessary. You just threw away your life for mine. Why? Alara checked her weapon. Because Rourke took everything from me. My father, my career, my future. And I'm taking it back. With interest. She looked up at him. You're not my ally, Mr. Varela. You're my weapon, and I'm going to use you to destroy the man who destroyed me. The elevator hit the parking garage. The doors opened onto concrete and shadows and the smell of oil and exhaust. Fair enough, Lucien said. But if I'm your weapon, you're going to help me rebuild my empire. No lies, no fraud, no ghosts. Real power, real control. Deal. They shook hands in the darkness. Neither of them mentioned trust. Trust was for people who had the luxury of believing in things. They had only survival, revenge, and each other, which would have to be enough. Lucien's car was a black Mercedes, armored, untraceable. They climbed in. He started the engine. The garage exit ramp climbed toward street level, toward the city, toward whatever came next. Where to? Alara asked. Somewhere safe. Somewhere I can make calls. Somewhere... He stopped. Stared at the rearview mirror. 3 black SUVs were pulling into the garage, moving fast, blocking the exit. Rourke's people. Already here. Already hunting. Hold on, Lucien said. He threw the Mercedes into reverse. Tires screamed. The first SUV tried to cut them off. Lucien didn't slow down. 2 tons of German engineering met Japanese manufacturing. Metal crumpled. Glass shattered. They punched through. Alara had her window down, her .38 out. She fired twice. One of the SUV's tires exploded. It slewed sideways, blocking the others. Go, 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 she shouted. Lucien went. The Mercedes hit the exit ramp at 60 miles per hour. Bottomed out. Sparks flew. Then they were on the street, screaming into Manhattan traffic, sirens everywhere, pursuit behind them. This is not going well, Alara said. This is going perfectly. Lucien's grin was manic. They just showed their hand, tried to kill me in public. There's no going back now. It's war. You sound happy about that. I'm alive. That's as happy as I get. Another SUV appeared ahead of them, trying to cut them off. Lucien didn't brake, didn't swerve. The Mercedes was armored for a reason. They hit the SUV at 70, sent it spinning, kept going. Behind them, the pursuit was falling back, confused, unprepared for prey that fought back. Where now? Alara demanded. New Jersey. I've got a warehouse, secure, off the grid. How far? 20 minutes, if we don't get pulled over. I'll reload. They screamed across the city. 2 people who'd been strangers an hour ago. 2 people who were now bound by blood and bullets, and the mutual understanding that the only way out was through. Behind them, Manhattan burned with the light of a deal gone bad. Ahead of them, New Jersey waited in darkness. And somewhere in between, Dominic Rourke was making calls, adjusting plans, preparing for the war that was coming, because Lucien Varela was supposed to be dead by now, and Alara Quinn was supposed to be nobody, but neither of them had gotten the memo. And that was going to make things very, very interesting. The Mercedes crossed the river as midnight came and went. The escrow accounts closed. $200 million evaporated into legal limbo. Attorneys scrambled. Cartels demanded explanations. Shell companies collapsed like dominoes. And in the darkness of a speeding car, 2 people who should have been enemies planned how to burn an empire to the ground. Tell me about Rourke, Lucien said. Alara's voice was cold. What do you want to know? Everything, she told him. And with every word, Lucien's smile got darker, sharper, more dangerous. By the time they reached the warehouse, the plan was forming. Not a good plan, not a safe plan, but a plan that would either destroy Dominic Rourke completely or kill them both trying. The warehouse smelled like rust and old motor oil and something else, something chemical that made Alara's eyes water when she stepped through the door. Lucien hit the lights. Fluorescent tubes flickered to life overhead, revealing a space that looked abandoned but wasn't. Concrete floors. Metal shelving units stacked with crates. An office in the back corner with reinforced glass windows. And guns. Lots of guns. Home sweet home, Lucien muttered. He was moving fast now, checking sight lines, testing door locks, his body running on adrenaline and muscle memory. Alara stood in the center of the space, her .38 still in her hand, taking inventory. 2 exits that she could see, maybe a third through the office. The building was standalone. She'd noticed that on the approach. No neighbors, no witnesses. Good for privacy, bad for escape routes. "We're exposed here," she said. "We're alive here." Lucien disappeared into the office. She heard drawers opening, papers rustling. That's what matters. Alara didn't holster her weapon. The adrenaline was wearing off now, leaving behind the crash, hands starting to shake, breath coming too fast, the copper taste of fear in her mouth. She'd killed a man tonight, shot 2 others, thrown away her life for a crime lord she'd met 3 hours ago. What the hell was she doing? The office door opened. Lucien emerged carrying a laptop, a burner phone, and a bottle of scotch. He set them on a metal table that looked like it belonged in an interrogation room. Probably did. "Drink?" He was already pouring, 2 glasses. Neat. "I don't drink with criminals." "You just shot 3 men to save a criminal's life. Little late for moral high ground." He pushed 1 glass toward her anyway. She stared at it, at him, at the situation she'd created. Then she picked up the glass and drained it in 1 swallow. The scotch burned. Good. She needed to feel something other than the numbness creeping up her spine. Lucien watched her with eyes that were too calculating, too sharp. "You going to fall apart on me?" "No." "Because if you are, do it now. I need to know if you're solid or if you're going to crack the first time things get worse." "Worse than getting shot at in a Manhattan penthouse?" "Much worse." He wasn't smiling. "Rourke knows we're alive, knows we're together. By morning, every cop, every enforcer, every 2-bit hustler in 5 states will be looking for us. We're targets now. Both of us." Alara set down the glass. Her hand was steady now. "I've been a target for 2 years. Ever since my father went to prison and I started asking questions nobody wanted answered. I'm still breathing, so yeah, I'm solid." "Good." Lucien opened the laptop. "Because we're about to do something incredibly stupid. More stupid than running from a crime scene. We're going after Rourke. Tonight, while he thinks we're scattered and scared." Alara's laugh was sharp. "That's not stupid. That's suicidal. Only if we do it his way. But we're not going to." Lucien's fingers flew across the keyboard. "Rourke's strength is money. Legitimate businesses hiding dirty operations. He owns half the Port Authority, 3 shipping companies, and enough politicians to make prosecution impossible. You can't arrest him, can't audit him, can't touch him through legal channels." "I know. I tried." The bitterness in her voice surprised her. Spent 18 months building a case, had documentation, had witnesses, had everything except the one thing that mattered, someone willing to prosecute. "So we don't prosecute, we destroy." Lucien turned the laptop toward her. The screen showed a financial network diagram. Shell companies, offshore accounts, money flows like arteries connecting organs. "This is Rourke's empire. Looks untouchable, right? But every system has weak points. Points of failure where one bad transaction cascades into systemic collapse." Alara leaned closer. Her eyes tracked the connections, the patterns. She'd seen diagrams like this before, had built them herself, back when she still believed the law meant something. "You're talking about financial sabotage." "I'm talking about burning his house down from the inside, making him bleed money until he has to choose, save the legitimate businesses or save the criminal operations, force him into the open. That takes time, resources, access to systems we don't have. We have something better." Lucien's smile was razors. "We have you, a fraud investigator who knows how these networks operate, and we have me, someone with contacts in every dirty corner of this city." He paused. "And we have 48 hours before Rourke realizes we're not running. We're hunting." Alara studied the diagram, found the weak points without trying. There, a holding company in the Caymans that funneled money from 3 different operations. There, a shipping manifest system that synchronized across 6 ports. There, a single accountant who processed transfers for a dozen shell companies. Points of failure. "This could work," she said slowly, "if we move fast, if we don't make mistakes. We'll make mistakes. Question is whether we survive them." Alara looked up at him. Really looked at him. Lucien Varela, crime lord, empire builder, survivor. He should have died tonight. should have signed that contract and been dead by morning. Instead, he was here, planning a counterattack against someone more powerful, more connected, more dangerous. He was insane. She was starting to like him. "I need access to your network," she said. "Financial records, contact lists, everything." "Why?" "Because if we're doing this, we're doing it right. No half measures. We hit Rourke where it hurts, and we don't stop until he's finished." Lucien studied her. Then he pushed the laptop across the table. "Password is Dante 918. Everything's in the encrypted partition." She blinked. "You're trusting me with your entire operation? You saved my life. Shot 3 men to do it. Either you're with me, or you're the most elaborate setup in criminal history. I'm betting on the former." He poured himself another scotch. "Besides, you want Rourke dead as much as I do. Probably more. That's enough." It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like falling. Alara opened the encrypted partition. Files upon files of financial records, shipping manifests, personnel files. Lucien's entire empire laid out in folders and spreadsheets. Enough evidence to put him away for life. And he'd just handed it to her. "You're either very smart or very stupid," she muttered. "I'm practical. We're in this together now. All the way down." He raised his glass. "To partnership. And revenge." She didn't raise hers. "I'm not your partner. I'm your temporary ally. When Rourke's finished, we're finished." "Fine. To temporary alliance and mutual destruction." This time she raised her glass. They drank. The scotch didn't taste like celebration. It tasted like gasoline waiting for a match. Alara turned back to the laptop and started working. Her fingers moved across the keyboard with the speed and precision of someone who'd done this before. Financial analysis, network mapping, pattern recognition. The skills she'd learned hunting fraud for legitimate companies, now being weaponized against a criminal empire. Behind her, Lucien was making calls, his voice low and urgent, speaking in code she didn't understand but could interpret anyway. Mobilizing resources, calling in favors, preparing for war. An hour passed, then 2. The warehouse stayed quiet except for the sound of typing and murmured conversations and the occasional curse when a lead went cold. Alara found the first weak point at 3:17 a.m., a shipping company called Meridian Logistics. Legitimate on the surface. Underneath, a money laundering operation processing $12 million a month through fabricated cargo manifests. The accountant was a woman named Sarah Chen. Single point of failure. She processed everything. "Got something," Alara said. Lucien ended his call, crossed to the table. "Show me." She pulled up the files. Sarah Chen, CPA, works for Meridian Logistics, which is owned by a holding company, which is owned by another holding company, which eventually traces back to Rourke. She's been moving money for him for 6 years. Never missed a payment. Never made a mistake. So she's a perfectionist, which means she keeps backups, detailed records, insurance in case Rourke ever decides she's a liability. Lucien's eyes narrowed. "You want to flip her. I want to steal her records. If we can get access to her files, we can trace every transaction Meridian has processed, map Rourke's entire financial network. She's not going to just hand them over. No. But she's a creature of habit. Same coffee shop every morning at 7 a.m., same route to work, same parking spot." Alara pulled up a surveillance photo, Chen walking down a Manhattan street, designer handbag, expensive shoes. She's proud of her work, proud of being indispensable. That's her weakness. We grab her, we scare her, make her think Rourke's cleaning house, make her believe she's next on the chopping block unless she cooperates. Lucien nodded slowly. "It's risky. If she warns Rourke, she won't, because we're going to give her something more valuable than loyalty. We're going to give her survival." "You've done this before." It wasn't a question. Alara's jaw tightened. "My father taught me. Before Rourke destroyed him. He said the best way to break a criminal network was to make the small players believe the big players would sacrifice them. Turn paranoia into a weapon. Your father sounds like he was good at his job." "He was the best." Her voice went cold. "Until someone set him up with the same playbook he'd written. Forged documents, fabricated evidence. By the time he realized what was happening, it was too late. The system he trusted turned on him. Lucian was quiet for a moment. Then, Rourke did that to him. Rourke, or someone working for Rourke. I've never been able to prove it, but the pattern's too similar, too perfect. Someone who knew my father's methods used them against him. And now you're using them against Rourke. Poetic justice. Elara closed the laptop. We move on Chen at 7 a.m. That gives us 3 hours to prep. I'll make the calls, get a team in place. No team, just us. Lucian stopped. You want to run an intercept operation with 2 people? I want to run it without witnesses, without leaks, without giving Rourke any advance warning. She met his eyes. Your organization, how many people in it would you trust with your life right now? The silence was answer enough. That's what I thought, Elara said. So it's just us. We grab Chen, we get her files, we disappear before Rourke knows what happened. And if it goes wrong, then we improvise, like we did at the penthouse. That was barely controlled chaos. And we're still alive. She stood. I need weapons. Something better than a .38. Lucian walked to one of the storage crates, opened it. Inside was enough firepower to start a small war. Pistols, rifles, body armor, ammunition. Take your pick. Elara selected a Glock 19, checked the action, loaded it, added 2 spare magazines to her belt. This'll work. You handle that like you've done it before too. My father made sure I could protect myself. Shooting range every Sunday, hand-to-hand combat twice a week. He said in our line of work, you make enemies without trying. Her smile was bitter. Turns out he was right. Lucien armed himself with a Sig Sauer and a backup piece. We should rest. 3 hours isn't much, but it's something. I don't sleep before operations. Neither do I. He pulled out 2 folding chairs from the office, set them facing the door. But we can sit, conserve energy, clear our heads. They sat. The warehouse was quiet. Outside, New Jersey slept, or pretended to. Can I ask you something? Elara's voice was soft. Why did you believe me? Back in the penthouse. You could have thrown me out, could have ignored everything I said. Why didn't you? Lucien was silent for a long moment. Because your hands were shaking when you poured the coffee. Just a tremor. Most people wouldn't notice. But I did, and I thought, why is a waitress nervous pouring coffee? Then you said those 8 words, and everything clicked. You weren't nervous about serving. You were nervous about speaking up, about breaking cover, about risking everything on the chance that I'd listen. Elara swallowed. She hadn't realized he'd noticed. Also, Lucian continued, I've been in this business long enough to know when a deal smells wrong. The contract was too perfect, too clean. Nobody's that careful unless they're hiding something. You just confirmed what my gut already knew. Your gut almost got you killed. My gut kept me alive long enough for you to save me. I'll call that a win. He shifted in the chair. My turn. Why did you speak up? You could have let me sign. Let me die. One less criminal. Why risk your life for mine? Elara stared at her hands. They weren't shaking now. Because I saw my father in you. That moment when you picked up the pen and hesitated, that look on your face like you knew something was wrong but couldn't prove it. My father had that same look the day they arrested him. He knew it was a setup, knew he was being framed, but he couldn't prove it. Nobody believed him. And you didn't want to watch another man go down for someone else's crime. I didn't want to watch Rourke win again. She looked up. My father died thinking he was a failure, thinking everyone believed he was corrupt. I want Rourke to die knowing he lost, knowing I destroyed him. That's worth risking my life for. Lucian nodded slowly. We're both doing this for dead people. Better than doing it for living ones. The dead don't disappoint you. They sat in silence after that. 2 people bound by grief and rage and the mutual understanding that they were probably going to die before this was over. But they'd die trying. And that was something. At 6 a.m., Elara stood and stretched. Her body ached from the adrenaline crash and the hard chair and 2 years of carrying weight she couldn't put down. Time to move, she said. They loaded into the Mercedes. The car still had bullet damage from the chase, spider-webbed glass, dented panels, scorch marks from where rounds had sparked off the armor. It looked like exactly what it was, a vehicle that had survived a war. Lucian drove. Elara navigated. They crossed back into Manhattan as the city woke up. Garbage trucks and delivery vans and early commuters, the normal people living normal lives, unaware that two people in a shot-up Mercedes were about to commit a felony. Chen's apartment is in Tribeca, Alara said. She'll leave at 6:45, walk 3 blocks to the coffee shop, order a vanilla latte, read the Times on her phone, then walk to her office. You've been watching her. For 6 months, waiting for the right moment. Alara checked her Glock. This is it. They parked 2 blocks from Chen's building. Waited. At 6:43, Sarah Chen emerged. Mid-30s, Asian American, dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Alara made in a month as a waitress. She looked confident, successful, untouchable. She had no idea what was coming. There, Alara said. They exited the car, followed at a distance. Chen walked with purpose, her heels clicking on the sidewalk, her phone already out checking emails. The coffee shop was a boutique place with artisanal beans and prices that made Alara wince. Chen went inside, ordered, waited. Alara and Lucien waited too. When Chen emerged with her latte, Alara moved. She walked straight up to Chen, got close enough that Chen startled, coffee sloshing. Sarah Chen? Alara's voice was low, urgent. We need to talk. Now. Chen's eyes went wide. Who are... Dominic Rourke sent us. You're in danger. The color drained from Chen's face. I don't know what your... Meridian Logistics. 12 million a month? Ghost cargo? You process everything. Alara leaned closer. Rourke's cleaning house, getting rid of anyone who knows too much. You're on the list. That's insane. I've been loyal. Loyalty doesn't matter when you're a liability. Ask Marcus Webb. Alara threw out the name without knowing if it would land. It landed. Chen went white. Marcus is... How do you know about Marcus? Alara had no idea who Marcus was, but the fact that Chen reacted meant he was important. Probably another accountant. Probably already dead. Because we're the cleanup crew, Lucien said. He'd appeared beside them, his presence imposing. And you're next unless you come with us. Right now. Chen looked around wildly, looking for help, looking for escape. You run, you die, Alara said. You scream, you die. You come with us, you might survive. Your choice. Make it fast. The calculation happened behind Chen's eyes. Fear versus survival, trust versus terror. She came with them. They walked her to the Mercedes, got her in the back seat. Lucien drove. Alara sat next to Chen, gun out but not aimed, just visible. Where are we going? Chen's voice shook. Somewhere we can talk, Alara said. Somewhere safe. Safe from whom? From the people who killed Marcus Webb. From the people who are about to kill you. Chen's breathing was rapid now, panicked. I need proof. I need... Alara pulled out her phone, showed Chen a photo she'd pulled from a news site 20 minutes ago. Marcus Webb. Found dead in his apartment yesterday. Suicide, they're saying. Hung himself. Chen stared at the photo. Tears welled in her eyes. Oh, God. Oh, God, Marcus wouldn't... He'd never... He didn't. But that's what the report says. That's what Rourke wanted it to say. Alara put the phone away. You're next. Unless you help us. Help you do what? Destroy Rourke before he destroys you. They pulled into the warehouse. Chen looked around at the concrete and the guns and the utter isolation. This is where you kill me, she whispered. If we wanted you dead, you'd be dead, Lucien said. We want information, your files, everything you've processed for Meridian. I can't. Rourke will kill you anyway. Alara's voice was hard. Marcus's proof. You know too much. You've seen too much. The moment Rourke decides to distance himself from Meridian, you're a loose end, and he doesn't leave loose ends. Chen was crying now, full sobs. I didn't want this. I just needed a job. I didn't know what I was getting into. But you know now, and you kept going, kept processing, kept taking the money. Alara felt something twist in her chest. Not quite sympathy, not quite contempt. So now you pay the price. Question is whether you pay it with your life or with information. If I give you the files, I'm dead anyway. Rourke has people everywhere. So do I, Lucien said, and I can make you disappear. New identity, new city, new life. You cooperate, you get out. You refuse, you go back to Manhattan and wait for Rourke's cleanup crew. Chen looked between them, searching for lies, for traps. How do I know you're not working for Rourke, that this isn't a test? Alara showed her the photo again. Because Rourke's people don't warn you. They just kill you. We're offering you a way out. Take it or don't, but decide now. The silence stretched. Then Chen nodded. The files are on a secure server. I'd need my laptop. My passwords. Where's your laptop? My apartment. Lucien and Alara exchanged glances. Could be a trap, Lucien said. Could be our only shot, Alara countered. They took Chen back to Tribeca, parked in the alley behind her building. Alara went up with her. Lucien stayed with the car, engine running, eyes scanning for threats. Chen's apartment was small but expensive. Minimalist furniture, expensive art, the home of someone trying very hard to convince themselves they'd made it. The laptop's in my bedroom, Chen said. Alara followed her, watched as Chen retrieved a sleek MacBook from a hidden safe. Her hands were still shaking. The password. Write it down. Don't say it out loud. Chen wrote it on a post-it note, handed it over. Alara took the laptop, started to leave. Then she stopped. Chen was reaching for her phone. Don't, Alara said. The Glock was up before she thought about it. Chen froze. I wasn't. You were going to call Rourke. Warn him. Maybe negotiate your own safety by giving us up. No, I swear. Alara crossed the room in 3 steps, grabbed the phone, checked the recent calls. One number, called 17 times in the past week, always at night, always brief. Who is this? Chen didn't answer. Alara hit redial, put it on speaker. The phone rang once, twice. Then a voice answered. Male, cold. I told you never to call this number during daylight. Alara's blood went ice. She knew that voice. Dominic Rourke. She hung up, threw the phone against the wall. It shattered. You're his direct report, Alara said. Her voice shook with rage. Not just an accountant. You're in his inner circle. Chen was crying again. He said he'd protect me. Said if I stayed loyal. Loyal? Alara's laugh was jagged. Marcus Webb was loyal too. How'd that work out? Please, I didn't know about Marcus. I didn't know Rourke was... Shut up. Alara grabbed Chen by the arm, dragged her toward the door. We're leaving, now, and you're going to give us everything. Every file, every password, every scrap of information you have. And if you even think about warning Rourke, her phone buzzed. Lucien's name on the screen. She answered. What? We've got company. 3 cars, blocking both ends of the alley. We're boxed in. Alara's stomach dropped. Rourke's people? Who else? Chen must have triggered something. An alarm. A check-in protocol. Something. Alara looked at Chen. What did you do? I didn't. I swear. What did you do? The safe. The safe has a silent alarm. If it's opened outside my scheduled access times, Alara wanted to scream, wanted to put a bullet in Chen right there. Instead, she ran. They hit the fire escape, went up, not down. Lucien's voice in her ear through the phone. Where are you going? Roof, can you get out? Not without a fight. Then fight. I'll meet you. Gunfire erupted below, loud, close. The phone went dead. Lucien! Alara screamed into it. Nothing. Chen was sobbing behind her. Oh God, they're going to kill us. Alara spun, grabbed Chen by the collar, slammed her against the brick wall. Listen to me. You triggered this. You brought them here. So now you're going to fix it. You're going to get us out of this building alive, or I swear I'll throw you off this roof myself. Chen nodded frantically. They reached the roof, 6 stories up, wind whipping, the city spread out around them like a cage. Below, more gunfire, shouting, sirens in the distance. Alara ran to the edge, looked down. The Mercedes was surrounded. Lucien was inside, returning fire through the broken windows. Muzzle flashes in the early morning light. He was pinned. Alara aimed her Glock. Too far. Wrong angle. She'd hit nothing but air. There! Chen pointed to the next building, 15 feet away. A gap like a mouth waiting to swallow them. We have to jump, Chen said. That's insane. It's that or die here. More gunfire. Closer now. They were coming up the stairs. Alara made the calculation. 15 feet, maybe more. She'd never make it. Not with the laptop, not with... Chen ran. Just ran. Straight at the edge, launched herself into space. For a horrible second, Alara thought she'd miss, thought she'd fall. Then Chen hit the other roof, rolled, came up gasping. "Come on!" she screamed. Alara heard boots on the stairs behind her. She ran, hit the edge, jumped. The world tilted. The gap yawned. Wind screamed past her ears. She hit hard. Her shoulder slammed into concrete. The laptop flew from her hands, skittered across the roof. Chen grabbed her, pulled her up. "Move, move, move!" They ran. Behind them, men emerged onto the first roof, saw the gap. Some hesitated. One didn't. He jumped, made it, raised his gun. Alara spun, fired. The Glock kicked in her hand. The man went down. "Door!" Chen was yanking on a rooftop access. Locked. Alara shot the lock, kicked the door. It burst open. They plunged into darkness. Down the stairs. 4 flights. 3. 2. Hit the ground floor. Emergency exit. Alarm screaming. They burst into an alley. Different alley. No Mercedes, no Lucian. Just them and the laptop and the sound of pursuit getting closer. "Which way?" Chen gasped. Alara had no idea. She was turned around, disoriented. Then she heard it. An engine? Close. Getting closer. The Mercedes screamed around the corner, shot up, smoking. Lucy. The wheel, blood on his face. "Get in!" They dove into the back seat. Lucien floored it, tires screaming, pursuit behind them. "You're hurt," Alara said. "I'm alive." Lucien took a corner at 60. "That's good enough." "They're still following." "I know." He took another corner, then another, threading through morning traffic like a needle through cloth. A black SUV appeared beside them, window rolling down. "Down!" Lucien shouted. They dropped. Gunfire shredded the air above them. The Mercedes swerved, clipped a parked car, kept going. Lucien reached under his seat, came up with something small and dark, pulled the pin with his teeth, threw it out the window. The grenade bounced once, twice, then detonated under the SUV. The explosion was deafening, metal and fire and shrapnel. The SUV flipped, tumbled, stopped. The pursuit fell back. They drove in silence after that. Out of Tribeca, out of Manhattan, into the industrial wasteland of Jersey where buildings stood empty and questions weren't asked. Finally, Lucien pulled into an abandoned parking garage, killed the engine. Nobody moved for a long moment. Then Alara started laughing, hysterical, uncontrollable. The laughter of someone who'd just survived something impossible. "That was insane," she gasped. "That was Tuesday," Lucien said. But he was smiling too, blood running down his temple, eyes wild. Chen was crying in the back seat, clutching the laptop like a lifeline. "We're alive," she kept saying. "We're alive, we're alive, we're alive." Alara's laughter died. She looked at the laptop, at Chen, at Lucien. They were alive. But they'd just declared open war on Dominic Rourke, killed his men, stolen his accountant, exposed themselves completely. There was no going back now. No hiding, no running, no pretending this could end any way except blood. "We need somewhere secure," Lucien said. "The warehouse is compromised. They'll trace it eventually." "I know a place," Chen said. Her voice was hollow. "A safe house. Rourke doesn't know about it. I bought it under a false name, insurance, in case he turned on you," Alara finished. Chen nodded. "Where is it?" "Brooklyn, Red Hook, Warehouse District." Lucien started the engine. "Then that's where we go. And then..." He looked at Alara, at Chen. "Then we open that laptop, and we find out exactly how deep Rourke's empire goes." "And then we burn it down," Alara said. "All of it." They drove into the rising sun. 3 people who shouldn't trust each other, who had every reason to betray each other, who were now bound by blood and bullets and the understanding that they'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Behind them, Manhattan smoldered with the wreckage of their escape. Ahead of them, Brooklyn waited with secrets that would either save them or destroy them. And somewhere in between, Dominic Rourke was getting a phone call that would change everything. His accountant was gone. His operation was exposed. And the 2 people who should have died last night were still breathing, still fighting, still coming for him. The war had begun, and there would be no survivors. Only winners and corpses. The safe house smelled like mildew and abandonment. Chen led them through a steel door that screamed on rusted hinges into a space that looked like it had been forgotten by the city itself. Concrete walls, no windows, a single bulb hanging from a wire, casting shadows that moved like living things. "Home sweet home," Chen muttered. Her voice was still shaking, still processing the fact that she was alive. Alara swept the space with her Glock still drawn. Old furniture covered in dust sheets. A kitchenette with a sink that probably hadn't run water in years. A back room with a mattress on the floor and nothing else. "How long have you had this place?" Alara asked. 3 years, since I realized what Rourke really was. Chen set the laptop on a folding table that looked like it might collapse under the weight. "I started skimming documents, making copies, building insurance." "Insurance against what?" Lucien was checking his wounds in a cracked mirror. The blood on his face came from a graze above his eyebrow. Not deep, but it would scar. "Against the day he decided I knew too much." Chen opened the laptop. Her fingers trembled on the keyboard. "Marcus and I, we talked about running, getting out, starting over somewhere Rourke couldn't find us." "But you didn't run," Alara said. "I was afraid. And then Marcus—" Chen's voice broke. "Now I'm more afraid of staying." The laptop booted up, password screen. Chen entered the code from memory, not from the post-it note she'd given Alara. Smart. She'd given them a fake in case they were actually Rourke's people. The desktop loaded. Folders upon folders. Years of financial records. Alara pulled up a chair. "Show me everything." What Chen showed them was a blueprint of corruption so vast it made Alara's head spin. Meridian Logistics was just one tentacle. Rourke controlled 17 shipping companies, 43 shell corporations, and had his fingers in operations spanning from Bogota to Bangkok. Drug trafficking disguised as machinery exports, human trafficking disguised as migrant labor contracts, weapons trafficking disguised as agricultural equipment, and the money. God, the money. $12 billion flowing through the network annually, laundered through legitimate businesses, real estate holdings, tech startups, even a chain of organic grocery stores. "This is impossible," Alara whispered. "No one person could control this much." "He doesn't work alone," Chen said. She pulled up another file. "He has partners, silent partners, people who handle different territories." The file opened. 6 names, 6 faces. Alara's blood turned to ice. The 4th face down the list was familiar, too familiar. "No," she breathed. Lucien leaned closer. "What?" Alara's hand was shaking as she pointed at the screen. "That man, 4th from the top, Richard Castellano." "You know him?" "He was my father's best friend, his partner at the Maritime Fraud Division, the man who testified at my father's trial." Alara's voice was hollow. "The man who swore under oath that my father was guilty, that he'd seen the evidence, that there was no doubt." Chen pulled up Castellano's file. The details spilled across the screen like poison. He'd been on Rourke's payroll for 15 years. Not just a corrupt cop, an architect. He'd helped design the fraud networks, had personally overseen the setup that destroyed Charles Quinn. "He framed your father," Lucien said quietly. "He did more than that." Alara was reading faster now, her eyes burning. He fed Rourke information, told him which investigators were getting close, which operations to shut down, which people to eliminate. She scrolled down, found a section labeled Quinn Operation, clicked it. The file was detailed, meticulous. A month-by-month breakdown of how they'd planted evidence in her father's office, how they'd fabricated shipping manifests with his digital signature, how they'd paid off witnesses to lie, how they'd ensured his lawyer was incompetent, how they'd guaranteed he'd go to prison. And at the bottom, a single line that made Alara's world collapse. Subject terminated via induced cardiac event, asset deployed, Quinn eliminated without exposure. She read it 3 times, 4. The words wouldn't change. "They killed him," she said. Her voice sounded far away, like it belonged to someone else. "It wasn't a heart attack. They murdered him in prison." Lucien's hand was on her shoulder. She barely felt it. "Alara, 15 years." Her laugh was broken glass. Castellano worked with my father for 15 years, trained with him, ate dinner at our house, came to my birthday parties, and the whole time he was working for Rourke. The whole time he was planning to destroy him. Chen was backing away slowly, like she'd just realized she was in a room with someone about to detonate. Alara stood. The chair fell backward. She didn't notice. Where is he? Where's Castellano now? Chen's fingers flew across the keyboard. According to this, he's still active, still on Rourke's payroll. He's running the East Coast oversight. The screen changed. New information loading. Real-time updates syncing from a remote server. And there, in the most recent entry, was a file labeled Varela Operation. Alar clicked it. The document that opened was dated 3 days ago. A strategic plan. Target, Lucien Varela. Method, financial entrapment via fraudulent shipping acquisition. Secondary objective, eliminate any witnesses or complications. Alara scrolled down. Found a section on contingencies. Found her name. Alara Quinn, daughter of terminated asset Charles Quinn, currently employed as waitress at Meridian Tower Restaurant. Psychological profile suggests potential interference if she becomes aware of operation. Recommend preemptive elimination if contact is made with target. Her vision swam. They'd known. Rourke had known she was there, had known she was watching, had planned to kill her whether she interfered or not. She kept reading. Contingency executed. Quinn interfered as predicted. Target Varela survived initial elimination attempt. Quinn now traveling with Varela. Recommend allowing operation to proceed. Quinn's vendetta against Rourke makes her predictable. She will lead Varela directly into secondary trap. Secondary trap. The words hit her like a physical blow. Lucien, she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. When did you decide to come after Rourke? What? When did you decide? Was it your idea or mine? Lucien's eyes narrowed. You suggested it, after the penthouse. You said, I said we should destroy Rourke. I said we should hit him while he wasn't expecting it. I pushed you to move fast, to be aggressive. Alara's hands were fists. And you listened to me, because I saved your life, because you trusted me. Where are you going with this? Alara pointed at the screen. Read it. Read what they planned. Lucien read. His face went gray. The file continued. Quinn's emotional state makes her aggressive and reckless. She will push Varela toward confrontation rather than retreat. This serves our purposes. By allowing them to believe they are hunting us, we control their movements. They will go where we want them to go. Do what we want them to do. And when they've exhausted themselves, when they've exposed all their resources and allies, we will eliminate them both. We're not hunting Rourke, Alara said. He's hurting us. Everything we've done, grabbing Chen, getting the files, coming here, he wanted us to do it. We're not the hunters. We're the prey. The safe house suddenly felt like a cage. Chen, Lucien's voice was ice. How did you know about this place? Really? Chen was pressed against the wall. I told you. I bought it as insurance, under a false name that Rourke doesn't know about. That's what you said. Lucien pulled his Sig Sauer. But Rourke knows everything about you. You're in his inner circle. You process his most sensitive transactions. You really expect me to believe you have secrets from him? I swear. How did you buy it? Alara's voice was flat, dead. How did you afford it on an accountant's salary? How did you set up the false identity without leaving a trail? Chen's silence was the answer. He gave it to you, Alara said. Rourke gave you this safe house, told you it was secret, told you it was insurance, made you believe you were being clever. Chen's face crumpled. No, he wouldn't. He would. Lucien was moving toward the door. This whole place is probably wired. Cameras, microphones. He's watching us right now, listening to every word. Alara looked up at the ceiling, at the walls, at the single bulb casting its sickly light. Somewhere in some control room, Rourke was probably laughing. We need to leave, she said. We need to run, Lucien corrected. Grab whatever we can carry and disappear. Change identities. Leave the country. Because if Rourke's been playing us from the start... The lights went out. All of them, the bulb, the laptop screen, everything. Darkness swallowed the room. Alara's gun was up, her back against the wall, her heart hammering so hard she could hear it. Lucienne? Here. His voice came from her left. Close. Chen? Sobbing, somewhere near the back wall. Everyone stay still, Alara whispered. Don't move! Don't! A sound. Metal on metal. The door they'd come through. It was opening. Light spilled in from the hallway, flashlight beams, cutting through the darkness like blades. Silhouettes. 4 of them. Armed. Alara fired. The muzzle flash lit the room. One silhouette went down. Return fire. Deafening in the enclosed space. Concrete chips exploding. Dust choking the air. Lucienne was firing too. Controlled bursts. Professional. But there were too many. More coming through the door. More behind them. Back room! Alara shouted. They scrambled. Chen screaming. Lucienne providing cover fire. Alara grabbed the laptop and ran. The back room had no exit, no windows, just the mattress and the walls and the certainty that they were trapped. Lucienne slammed the door, shoved the mattress against it. That'll buy us 30 seconds, maybe. Then what? Chen was hysterical. There's no way out! Alara was scanning the room, looking for anything, any option. Her eyes caught on something. A ventilation grate. High on the wall, maybe 2 feet square. There, she pointed. Lucienne looked. That's too small. We'll never... Chen will. Alara grabbed a broken chair, climbed up, started prying at the grate with her knife. The door shuddered. Something heavy hitting it from the other side. Voices shouting. Won't hold much longer. The grate came loose, clattered to the floor. Chen, up here! Chen climbed the chair. Alara boosted her up. The woman was small, thin. She fit through the opening with inches to spare. Go! Find an exit! Get out! What about you? Chen's face was pale in the darkness. We'll find another way. Go! Chen disappeared into the ventilation shaft. The door exploded inward. The mattress flew. Men poured through. Alara and Lucienne fired. Controlled. Precise. Making every round count. 2 men down. 3. 4. Then Alara's Glock locked empty. She dropped the magazine. Reached for her spare. Fumbled it. The magazine hit the floor. Skittered into shadow. A man rushed her. She went hand to hand, knife out. Slashing. He screamed. Went down, clutching his throat. But more were coming. Too many. Lucienne took a round to the shoulder. Spun. Kept firing one-handed. Alara! He was backing toward her. Blood soaking his shirt. We're done. Not yet. She had the knife. That was enough. Had to be enough. Then the flashlight beams found them. Pinned them against the wall. A voice cut through the chaos. Hold fire! The shooting stopped. A man stepped through the doorway. Older, silver-haired, wearing a suit that cost more than the entire warehouse. Alara knew his face from the files. Richard Castellano. The man who'd destroyed her father was standing 10 feet away, smiling. Alara Quinn, he said. His voice was warm, familiar. She'd heard it 1,000 times growing up. You've grown. Last time I saw you, you were what? 14? 15? Still had braces. Alara's grip on the knife tightened. You framed my father. You killed him. I did my job. Your father was getting close to operations he shouldn't have been investigating. Rourke asked me to handle it, so I did. Castellano shrugged. Nothing personal, just business. Nothing personal? Alara's laugh was razors. You ate at our table. You were his friend. I was his partner. Different thing. And he was weak. Too many principles. Too much conscience. In our line of work, that gets you killed. Castellano's smile widened. Which is why I'm alive and he's not. Lucienne spat blood. What do you want, Castellano? To clean up a mess. You two have been very entertaining. Running around the city, stealing my accountant, making a lot of noise. But the show's over now. He gestured to his men. Take them. They moved in. Alara lunged. The knife was fast. She got one, opened his chest from collar to sternum. But there were too many. They swarmed her, drove her to the ground, pinned her arms. The knife clattered away. Lucienne fought too. Broke one man's jaw, put another's knee backward. But the shoulder wound had weakened him. They overwhelmed him through sheer numbers. Within seconds, they were both on their knees, guns pressed to their heads. Castellano walked closer, studied them like specimens in a lab. You know what your father's real mistake was? He said to Alara. He trusted the system, believed in due process, thought if he just followed the rules, justice would prevail. He crouched down to her eye level. You made the same mistake, thought you could outthink Rourke, thought you could find his weaknesses and exploit them. But you forgot the most important rule. What rule? Alara's voice was venom. The house always wins. Castellano stood. Rourke's been playing this game for 30 years. You really think a waitress and a mid-level crime lord could take him down? You were doomed the moment you opened your mouth in that penthouse. Then why didn't you just kill us? Lucien asked. Why the games? Why let us run? Because Rourke wanted to send a message to everyone in our world who might think they can challenge him. Castellano pulled out his phone, tapped the screen. He wanted them to see what happens when you try, how even your best efforts, your cleverest plans, your most desperate gambles, they all lead here, to your knees, to a bullet. The phone screen lit up, a video feed, showing Chen crawling through the ventilation shaft, following it to an exit, emerging into an alley, where 6 armed men were waiting. They grabbed her. She didn't even fight. Your accountant is back in custody, Castellano said. The laptop you stole is encrypted with a 36-character randomly generated key that changes every 6 hours. The files you saw, already scrubbed from the server. They don't exist anymore. And you two, he gestured to the men holding them. You're going to disappear, not dead. That's too clean, too quick. No, you're going to be examples, broken, destroyed, left alive just long enough for word to spread about what happens when you cross Dominic Rourke. Alara felt something crack inside her. Not hope. She'd lost that hours ago. Something deeper. The part of her that still believed resistance mattered, that fighting back meant something. My father was a good man, she said. Her voice was hollow. He didn't deserve what you did to him. Your father was a fool, Castellano said, and you're his daughter. The apple didn't fall far. He turned to leave. Alara's mind was racing, looking for any play, any option. The knife was 6 feet away. Too far. Her gun was empty. Useless. Lucien was bleeding, weakening, his shoulder wound worse than he'd let on. No backup, no allies, no way out. She'd failed. Completely. Utterly. Worse than failure, she'd walked right into Rourke's trap, had done exactly what he wanted, had brought Lucien with her into the slaughter. Some fraud investigator she was, some daughter of Charles Quinn. She'd let her need for revenge blind her, had let her rage make her stupid, and now they were both going to pay the price. Castellano reached the doorway, paused, looked back. One more thing, about your father's death. His smile was cruel. He knew, at the end. Knew it was me who set him up, knew I'd betrayed him. I made sure he knew, wanted to see his face when he realized his best friend had destroyed him. He laughed. He cried, begged me to tell you the truth, to clear his name. I told him I'd consider it. And then you killed him, Alara whispered. And then I killed him. Castellano's expression was empty. Just like I'm going to kill you, eventually. After we've broken you down to nothing. After we've made you wish you'd never been born. He left. The men holding them didn't move, didn't speak, just waited for orders. Alara looked at Lucien. He looked back. No words. None needed. They'd lost. The silence stretched. Then from somewhere above, a sound, faint, distant, metal scraping, movement in the ventilation system. One of the men heard it too. Looked up. What was... The grate exploded inward. Not Chen, someone else, someone bigger, faster. A man Alara had never seen before dropped into the room. Tactical gear, night vision goggles, weapons that looked military grade. He moved like liquid violence. 2 shots. 2 of Castellano's men down before they could react. The others scrambled, tried to bring their weapons around. Too slow. The stranger was among them. Knife work that was art and murder combined. 3 seconds. 4 men dead. Then silence. The stranger pulled off his night vision goggles, looked at Alara and Lucien. You two look like hell, he said. American accent, Southern, maybe Texas. Who are you? Alara managed. Someone who's been tracking Rourke a lot longer than you have. He cut their zip tie restraints with a tactical knife. Name's Marcus Webb, and we need to move. Right now. Elara's mind stuttered. Marcus Webb is dead. We saw the news report. You saw what Rourke wanted you to see. Marcus grabbed Elara's arm, hauled her to her feet. I faked my death 3 days ago when I realized Chen was compromised. Been in the wind since. Watching. Waiting. Waiting for what? Lucien was up now, favoring his shoulder but mobile, for Rourke to make a mistake, for someone to get close enough to actually hurt him. Marcus retrieved Elara's knife from the floor, handed it to her. Congratulations. You're that someone. We failed. We walked right into his trap. No, you walked into Castellano's trap. That's different. Marcus moved to the door, checked the hallway. Rourke doesn't know about me. Thinks I'm dead, which means I'm his blind spot, and you two are the distraction I needed to get close to him. Elara's head was spinning. You've been using us. Everyone's been using you. Question is whether you want to keep getting used or whether you want to turn the tables. Marcus looked at her. His eyes were hard, cold. I can get you to Rourke and put you in the same room as the man who killed your father, who destroyed your life. But you'll only get one shot, one chance. And if you hesitate, if you flinch, he'll kill you where you stand. Why should we trust you? Because I just saved your lives, and because unlike everyone else in this nightmare, I'm actually telling you the truth. Marcus started down the hallway. Chen's being transported to a secure location. Castellano thinks you're neutralized. Rourke thinks he's won. We have maybe 2 hours before they realize you're gone. 2 hours to do something insane. Like what? Lucien asked. Marcus smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Like walking into Dominic Rourke's headquarters and burning his empire to the ground from the inside. Elara looked at Lucien, at the blood, the exhaustion, the defeat. Then she looked at the bodies on the floor, at Castellano's men who'd thought they were invincible 30 seconds before they died. 2 hours, she said, give or take. Then we better move fast. They ran, out of the safe house, into the Brooklyn night. 3 people who should have been dead, who were supposed to be broken and defeated. Instead, they were armed, angry, and absolutely done playing defense. Behind them, the warehouse stood silent, bodies cooling, evidence of a massacre that would be cleaned up before morning. Ahead of them, somewhere in the city, Dominic Rourke sat in his tower thinking he'd won, thinking the threat was eliminated. He was wrong, and he was about to find out just how wrong, because Elara Quinn had nothing left to lose. Lucien Varela had nothing left to protect, and Marcus Webb had been planning this for far longer than either of them knew. The final play was about to begin, and this time there would be no traps, no games, no mercy, just 3 people with guns and rage and the absolute certainty that they were going to watch Rourke's world burn or die trying. The Mercedes was where they'd left it, shot up, smoking, beautiful. They climbed in. Marcus drove. Where are we going? Elara asked. To finish what your father started. Marcus's voice was granite. And to make sure that when this is over, there's nothing left of Rourke's empire but ashes. He hit the gas. The car screamed into the night. And somewhere in a penthouse office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan, Dominic Rourke's phone rang. He answered. Listened. His smile faded. What do you mean they're gone? The voice on the other end explained. Castellano's men, dead. Quinn and Varela, vanished. Rourke's knuckles went white on the phone. Find them, he said. Find them and end this. Tonight. But even as he gave the order, some part of him knew. The game had changed, the prey had become predators, and the hunt was about to get very bloody. He hung up, looked out at the city that was his kingdom, and for the first time in 30 years, Dominic Rourke felt something he'd almost forgotten. Fear. The tower rose 43 stories into the Manhattan sky, glass and steel catching the city lights like a blade waiting to be drawn. Rourke's headquarters, his fortress, his monument to untouchable power. Marcus parked the Mercedes 3 blocks away in an alley that smelled like garbage and broken dreams, killed the engine. The silence was sudden and complete. He's on the top floor, Marcus said. No preamble, just facts. Private penthouse. Access controlled by biometric scanners and a security team that rotates every 4 hours. Shift change happens at 2 a.m. That's our window. 14 minutes from now. Alara checked her Glock. 15 rounds. 3 spare magazines. Not enough for a sustained firefight. Barely enough for survival. Security layout? Lucian was binding his shoulder with duct tape in rage. The bleeding had slowed but hadn't stopped. His face was gray under the streetlight. Marcus pulled out a tablet, swiped through blueprints. 23 cameras on the ground floor, 12 on each level up to 40. Penthouse has its own isolated system. 4 guards in the lobby, 2 on the executive elevator, 6 on the penthouse floor. That's 14 people between us and Rourke, Alara said. 15. Castellano's probably up there with him by now, warning him, organizing the response. Marcus zoomed in on the penthouse layout. 2 entry points. Main elevator opens into a reception area. Service entrance through the kitchen connects to the fire stairs. We split up, Lucian said. It wasn't a question. No. Alara's voice was steel. We go together. We don't have enough people to split up and survive. She's right. Marcus closed the tablet. We go in hard, fast. Overwhelming force before they can organize a defense. We hit the lobby, take the elevator, clear the penthouse floor, and put Rourke down before reinforcements arrive. That's not a plan. That's suicide, Lucian said. You got a better option? Silence. Didn't think so. Marcus opened a duffel bag in the back seat, started pulling out weapons, submachine guns, flash grenades, body armor. Gear up. And if you're having second thoughts, now's the time to walk away. Alara took a submachine gun, checked the action, loaded it. The weight felt good in her hands, felt like retribution. I'm not walking anywhere except through that door. Lucian grabbed armor, strapped it on over his wounded shoulder, grimaced. If we die doing this, we don't, Alara cut him off. We kill everyone between us and Rourke. We make him watch his empire burn, and then we kill him too. Marcus smiled, cold. Now you're thinking like a survivor. They moved. 3 people in tactical gear crossing the street like shadows with purpose. The tower loomed above them, cameras everywhere. But Marcus had a tablet running counter-surveillance software. Each camera went dark 3 seconds before they entered its field of view. Came back online 3 seconds after they passed. The lobby doors were glass and chrome and guarded by 4 men in suits that didn't quite hide their shoulder holsters. Marcus didn't slow down. Just walked straight through the doors like he owned the place. Evening, gentlemen. The guards turned, hands moving toward weapons. Marcus was faster. His suppressed pistol coughed twice. 2 guards down, center mass, professional. The other 2 were drawing, too slow, too surprised. Alara and Lucien came through the doors behind Marcus, their weapons up. 4 more rounds. Suppressed. Quiet. 4 bodies on the marble floor. The whole thing took 6 seconds. Elevator, Marcus said. They ran. The executive elevator was at the far end of the lobby. 2 more guards. These ones more alert. Saw them coming, reached for radios. Alara fired. 1 burst, 3 rounds. The guard went down clutching his throat, choking, dying. Lucien took the second guard, 2 shots, head and chest. Marcus hit the elevator call button. 30 seconds before someone notices. Move. The elevator dinged, doors opened. They piled in. Marcus swiped a key card he'd pulled from somewhere, hit the button for 43. The doors closed. The elevator started to rise. Alara's heart was hammering, adrenaline singing in her veins. Her hands were steady on the weapon, but her chest was tight. This was it. No going back. They were committed. When these doors open, Marcus said, we go loud. Flash grenades first, then we clear the room. Shoot anyone armed. Move fast. Don't hesitate. Where'd you get the key card? Lucien asked. Stole it from Castellano's assistant 3 days ago, before I faked my death. Marcus checked his weapon. Been planning this for a while. Planning what? You never said why you're doing this. Marcus's eyes went dark. Rourke killed my sister 10 years ago. She was a prosecutor. Got too close to his operations. They made it look like a suicide. Hung her in her own apartment. His voice was flat, empty. I've been hunting him ever since. Building cases, gathering evidence, trying to do it the right way. What changed? Alara asked. I got tired of the right way failing, tired of watching him walk free while good people died. Marcus looked at her. Your father. My sister. Chen's friend Marcus, the real Marcus, not me. Rourke's been killing people for 30 years. Someone has to stop him. So you became the weapon, Lucian said. I became what was necessary. The elevator climbed. 37th floor. 38th. Alara's palms were sweating. She wiped them on her pants, gripped the submachine gun tighter. This was for her father, for all the nights she'd lain awake wondering if he'd really been guilty, for all the years she'd carried the weight of his supposed crimes. This was justice. Or revenge. Maybe they were the same thing. 40th floor. Remember, Marcus said, Rourke's mine. You two handle Castellano and the guards. I need Rourke alive long enough to make him talk. Talk about what? Alara asked. About everyone else. Every politician on his payroll, every cop, every judge. I'm burning the whole network down, but I need his records, his files, everything. 42nd floor. Lucian chambered around. What if he doesn't talk? Then I make him scream until he does. 43rd floor. The elevator slowed. Marcus pulled a flash grenade, pulled the pin. On 3, 1, 2. The doors opened. Marcus threw the grenade. It bounced across marble floor. The reception area was massive. Glass walls, modern furniture, 6 guards spinning toward the elevator. The grenade detonated. Light and sound and concussion. The guards went down. Clutching ears, clutching eyes. Alara, Lucien, and Marcus poured out of the elevator. Weapons up. Firing. Controlled bursts. Professional. Lethal. The guards didn't stand a chance. Disoriented by the flashbang. Blinded. Deafened. 6 men down in 8 seconds. Smoke cleared. Silence except for the ringing in Alara's ears. Marcus was already moving. Through the reception area, toward a set of double doors, mahogany, expensive, locked. He put 3 rounds through the lock, kicked the doors open. The office beyond was obscene in its luxury. Persian rugs, original artwork, floor-to-ceiling windows showing Manhattan spread out like a kingdom. And standing at those windows, silhouetted against the city lights, was Dominic Rourke. Mid-50s, silver hair, tailored suit. He didn't turn around when they entered, just stood there looking at his empire. I wondered when you'd arrive, he said. His voice was cultured, calm. Marcus Webb, back from the dead. How dramatic. Turn around, Marcus said, his weapon trained on Rourke's back. Rourke turned, slowly, his hands visible, empty. His face was handsome in a predatory way, sharp features, eyes that calculated angles and weaknesses with a glance. And you brought friends, Alara Quinn, daughter of the man who almost ruined me, and Lucian Varela, the crime lord who thought he could play in the big leagues. Rourke smiled. This is quite the reunion. Where's Castellano? Alara's finger was on the trigger, wanting, needing. Downstairs, handling cleanup. He'll be up shortly. Rourke walked to a bar cart, poured himself a scotch. Would you like a drink? We have a few minutes before this gets unpleasant. We're not here to drink, Marcus said. No. You're here to kill me. I understand. It's what I'd do in your position. Rourke sipped his scotch. But before you pull that trigger, consider, I have information, names, dates, evidence of corruption that spans every major city on the eastern seaboard. Kill me, and that information dies with me. We'll find it ourselves, Alara said. Will you? My records are encrypted, stored in a dozen different locations, access codes that change hourly. You'd need months to break through the security, months you don't have. Rourke set down his glass. Or I could simply give it to you. Everything, everyone, the complete network laid bare. In exchange for what? Lucien asked. My life. Obviously. Rourke straightened his cuffs. I walk away from this. Retire. Disappear. You get the Empire and all its dirty secrets. Win-win. Marcus laughed. It was bitter. You think I've hunted you for 10 years to let you walk away? I think you're smart enough to recognize a good deal when you hear one. Rourke's eyes were calculating. Kill me, you get revenge. Sure, but you don't get justice. You don't expose the network. You don't clean up the corruption. You just create a power vacuum that someone else will fill. Is that really what you want? Alara looked at Marcus. At the tension in his jaw, the way his finger trembled on the trigger. He wanted to shoot. Wanted it so badly she could feel it radiating off him. But he was hesitating, considering. Don't listen to him, Alara said. He's stalling, buying time for reinforcements. Of course I'm stalling, Rourke said cheerfully, but I'm also telling the truth. You need what I have, and I need to not be dead. We can help each other. Help? Alara's voice was venom. You killed my father. You destroyed his life, his reputation, everything he was. Your father was collateral damage in a larger game, nothing personal. Rourke's expression didn't change. But I can give you the man who actually did it, Castellano. He's the one who planted the evidence, who testified against your father, who poisoned him in prison. I know it was Castellano. I've seen the files. Files that I can authenticate in court. Files that will put him away for life. Give you the justice your father never got. Rourke leaned forward. All I'm asking for is my life. Small price for destroying the man who actually pulled the trigger. Alara's hands were shaking now. The gun felt heavy. Her vision was tunneling. This was the man, right here, the architect of her pain, the reason her father died thinking the world believed he was corrupt. One pull of the trigger, that's all it would take. But if she pulled it, Castellano might walk, might disappear, might never face consequences. Elara, Lucien's voice was quiet, warning, don't trust him. I don't, she said, but he's right about one thing. We need his records. Then we'll find them. Will we? Before Castellano erases everything? Before the network scatters? Marcus was still silent, still aimed at Rourke, but he hadn't fired. 10 seconds, Rourke said. That's all the time you have. Castellano's on his way up, with 12 men, armed, trained. When they arrive, this negotiation ends. You die. I walk away, and nothing changes. He smiled. Or you take my deal, get everything you want, and I get to live. Clock's ticking. The elevator dinged, doors opening, footsteps in the reception area. Multiple people, moving fast. Decision time, Rourke said. Marcus pulled the trigger. The shot was deafening in the enclosed space, but it didn't hit Rourke. It hit the window behind him. The glass spiderwebbed, cracked. Wrong answer, Marcus said. Elara, Lucien, on me. They moved. Castellano burst through the mahogany doors with his team, 12 men, weapons up, saw Marcus, saw the shattered window. Kill them! Castellano shouted. The room exploded into chaos. Marcus fired, burst mode, sweeping left to right, 3 men down before they could acquire targets. Elara dove behind Rourke's desk, came up firing. The submachine gun kicked in her hands. 4th man down. 5th. Lucien was moving, using furniture as cover, his shoulder bleeding again, but his aim was steady. 6th man. 7th. Castellano's men scattered, taking cover, returning fire. Wood splintered, glass shattered, bullets chewed through luxury like it was paper. Rourke was on the floor, crawling toward a side door, trying to escape. Elara saw him, swung her weapon. But Castellano was there, standing between her and Rourke, his gun aimed at her head. Hello, Elara, he said. Your father said to say hello from hell. She fired. He fired. Both rounds hit. Elara felt the impact in her side, just below the armor, burning, wet. She went down. Castellano stumbled. Her round had caught him in the leg. He dropped to one knee. Elara was on her back, couldn't breathe, couldn't move. Castellano raised his gun again, aimed at her face. This is for making me work late, he said. Lucien appeared behind him, grabbed his head, twisted. The snap was audible even over the gunfire. Castellano fell, dead before he hit the floor. Lucien was pulling Elara up. Stay with me. I'm good. Blood on her hands. Too much blood. I'm fine. She wasn't fine. The room was spinning. 8 of Castellano's men down, 4 still fighting. Marcus was pinned behind the bar cart, taking fire from 3 directions. Rourke was almost to the side door. Elara raised her weapon, aimed. Her vision was blurry, unfocused, fired. The round took Rourke in the back of the knee. He screamed, went down. Not so fast, Elara gasped. Marcus threw a grenade, not flashbang, fragmentation. Down, he shouted. They hit the floor. The grenade detonated, shrapnel and fire. The remaining guards were shredded. Silence, smoke and dust and the smell of blood and cordite. Elara tried to stand, couldn't. The wound in her side was bad, really bad. Lucien was beside her, putting pressure on it. Stay down. Don't move. Rourke, I've got him, Marcus said. He walked through the carnage, stepped over bodies, reached Rourke. The crime lord was crawling, whimpering, his knee destroyed, blood pooling on the expensive rug. Marcus grabbed him by the collar, hauled him up, slammed him against the wall. Where are the files? Go to hell, Rourke spat. Marcus put his gun against Rourke's other knee. Where are the files? You'll never find them, even if you kill me. They're encrypted with biometric keys, my fingerprints, my retinal scan. You need me alive. I need you cooperative. There's a difference. Marcus pulled the trigger. Rourke's other knee exploded. He shrieked, a sound that wasn't quite human. Next one's your gut. You'll die slow, bleeding out, taking hours. Or you tell me where the files are and I make it quick. Rourke was sobbing now. Office safe, behind the Picasso. Retinal scan plus 12-digit code. What's the code? Rourke gasped it out. Numbers between screams. Marcus memorized them. Then he looked at Alara, at Lucien. Your call, he said. He destroyed your lives, your father, your empire. You want him dead or in prison? Alara was fading, the blood loss catching up. But she forced herself to focus. Looked at Rourke. This pathetic, broken thing. This man who'd seemed untouchable an hour ago. He was nothing now. Just meat and fear and pain. Killing him would be easy. Would be satisfying. But her father hadn't wanted revenge. He'd wanted justice. Had believed in the system even when it failed him. Prison, she whispered. Let him rot. Let him face what my father faced. Let him die knowing everyone knows what he was. Marcus nodded, pulled out zip ties, bound Rourke's hands. Then he crossed to the Picasso, pulled it aside, revealed a wall safe, pressed Rourke's eye to the scanner, entered the code. The safe opened. Inside were hard drives, dozens of them. Documentation, ledgers, evidence. Marcus grabbed everything, shoved it into his duffel bag. This is it. This is everything. Sirens outside, getting closer. Police will be here in 2 minutes, Lucien said. He was pale, swaying, the shoulder wound worse than he'd admitted. We need to go, Marcus said. I can't move, Alara said. The room was going gray at the edges. Then we carry you. Lucien was already scooping her up, ignoring his own pain. They ran, through the carnage, through the reception area, to the fire stairs, started down. Alara drifted in and out. Pain, movement, Lucien's arms around her. At some point, Marcus said, I'm going to disappear. Take the files, feed them to every news agency, every prosecutor, everyone. Rourke's network burns by morning. What about us? Lucien asked. You were never here. This was Castellano's team fighting Rourke's team. Gang war. You're just collateral damage. Get to a hospital. Get patched up. Disappear for a few weeks. By the time anyone looks for you, the story will be over. They hit the ground floor. Emergency exit, alley. Marcus looked at them one last time. Your father would be proud, he said to Alara. Then he was gone. Vanished into the city with his duffel bag full of evidence. Lucien carried Alara to the Mercedes, got her in the back seat, drove. She was fading, the pain distant now, floating. Stay with me, Lucien said. Hospital's 5 minutes. You're going to make it. Did we win? She asked. Yeah, we won. Doesn't feel like winning. Never does. The city blurred past, lights and sirens and chaos. Alara closed her eyes, opened them in a hospital bed. Fluorescent lights, antiseptic smell. Lucien was in the chair beside her, bandaged, exhausted. How long? She asked. 8 hours. You needed surgery. Lost a lot of blood. But you're going to be fine. Rourke? In custody, talking his head off, trying to make deals. Won't matter. Marcus delivered the files. Every news channel has them. Every prosecutor. It's over. The network's done. Alara tried to sit up. Couldn't. Too weak. Castellano? Dead. You saw that happen. Good. She closed her eyes. My father is being vindicated as we speak. The files prove he was framed, prove everything. They're already talking about exoneration, about clearing his name. Tears on her face. She couldn't stop them. He knew, at the end, knew it was Castellano. And now everyone else knows too. Your father's name will be cleared, his reputation restored, because of you. Because of us. Lucian took her hand. Yeah, because of us. They sat in silence. Two people who'd gone to war and somehow survived. Outside, the sun was rising over Manhattan. A new day. For them. For the city. For everyone Rourke had hurt. It wasn't clean, wasn't simple, but it was justice. And that was enough. Alara closed her eyes and slept. And for the first time in 2 years, she didn't dream of her father dying in prison. She dreamed of him smiling, free, vindicated, at peace. 3 weeks passed before Alara could walk without her side screaming in protest. 3 weeks of physical therapy and painkillers and nights where she'd wake up gasping, back in that penthouse office with bullets tearing through everything she'd built. The hospital released her on a Tuesday morning. Gray sky, rain threatening but not falling. Lucian was waiting in the lobby with a car that wasn't the Mercedes. Something clean, unmarked, forgettable. Where to? He asked. Alara had thought about this question for 3 weeks, had run through every possible answer while staring at hospital ceiling tiles and wondering if any of it had been worth it. Brooklyn, she said. Red Hook. He didn't ask why, just drove. The warehouse district looked different in daylight, less menacing. Just old buildings and empty streets and the kind of urban decay that happens when money moves somewhere else. The safe house where they'd been betrayed stood silent. Police tape across the door. Evidence markers on the ground where Castellano's men had died. Alara got out of the car slowly, each movement deliberate, careful. You sure you want to do this? Lucien asked. No, but I need to. She walked to the door. The tape was old, faded. Nobody cared about this crime scene anymore. The big fish had already been caught. Inside, the space was exactly as they'd left it. Bloodstains on the concrete, bullet holes in the walls. The folding table where Chen had opened the laptop still standing in the corner. Alara moved through it like a ghost visiting its own haunting. Touched the wall where she'd been pinned, the floor where she'd fallen. The doorway where Marcus had appeared and changed everything. What are we looking for? Lucien was behind her, keeping distance, giving her space. Closure. Maybe. Alara knelt beside a dark stain on the concrete, her own blood, from when Castellano had shot her. I keep thinking about what Rourke said about my father being collateral damage, about how none of it was personal. It was personal to you. Yeah, but to him? To Castellano? I was just a variable in an equation, something to manage, to eliminate if necessary. She stood, her side ached. My father spent his whole life believing the system worked, that if you followed the rules and did the right thing, justice would prevail, and they destroyed him for it, made him die thinking he was a criminal. But you cleared his name. The exoneration came through last week. Every news outlet ran the story. Charles Quinn, martyred investigator, framed by the people he trusted. I know. I read every article, watched every broadcast. Alara's voice was hollow. But he's still dead. Knowing the truth doesn't bring him back. No, but it means something, to his memory, to everyone else who gets destroyed by people like Rourke. Alara walked to the back room. The mattress was still shoved against the door. Blood spatters on the wall where Marcus had killed Castellano's men with surgical precision. Marcus disappeared, she said. The files went public.